for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about how to deal with difficult people. So I'm sure you've heard these before. I don't ever want to work with him again. Why can't he see that he is wrong on this one? Just my luck to work with her. Not another story. Why does he have to be so difficult? So I love that there's laughter because I think you all can relate to these 5 situations. You interact daily with individuals that are difficult. They have their challenges, and it provides challenges in this work environment and in production and keeping that up. It's a challenge, right, to find ways to interact with them in a positive way while at the same time maintaining your sanity, right? So let me introduce you to 5 of your employees. First off, there's Jack. Now, Jack is all about the drama. He spends, on average, about 30 minutes each day telling stories. And it kind of cuts into production, and his team can't quite work together because of it. Then there's Susie. So Susie doesn't really want to admit to anything that's happening around her. She kind of works in her own little world, her own little reality, and it's quite different than what everybody else works in. What about Bob? So Bob, 10 years ago, had an incident that has really weighed on him. Really has been a really heavy situation that he's had to deal with. And he really relives that incident over and over. And about 3 times a week, it really ceases any work activity from him and ultimately from his team. And it causes issues. So we feel bad for him, but he can't get past this issue. And then there's Jane. So Jane is always looking for someone to help her out. No matter the project, she's going to ask someone to do it for her or to help her out. But don't expect that offer in return because she won't repay that offer. And then there's Zach. So Zach is always right, even when he's wrong. I'm sure you're familiar with that type. He makes mistakes, but he's always quick to blame others for those mistakes. And in doing so, he's admitting that he's always right, and he'll complain about what everybody else does, but what he doesn't do. Do these employees sound familiar? Are there characteristics that you've already noticed in these 5 employees that you have within your group of employees? We interact daily with these. And because of that, it really helps, and it's a painful and frustrating experience. These employees have certain characteristics, and let's cover briefly 5 of these characteristics that these employees have. So the first is the attention grabber. So this person is always wanting to be in the spotlight. Everything is about them, and it's always a very dramatic experience. They relish the reaction that they get from others. And then Susie, she's always oblivious, right? She's the one that lives in her own sphere of reality. So this reality is far different from what really is going on around the people. And because of that, it's really hard to carry on conversations because they're not really paying attention to what is going on in the present. They're not connecting with that. And they're in constant denial of what is happening around them because they don't recognize that they're in their own little world. And then there's the victim. So the victim is always negative. I see some laughs, so we obviously can connect. This victim is always negative about situations. And because of that, they always rely on the past. They always dredge it up, and they're always bringing in, what about what happened this time ago? They're always bringing it up, and it makes it difficult. And they want people to feel sorry for them. And then the self-serving one. So these individuals are always after favors. They're always asking someone to help them out, regardless of what it is. But they're not also offering to help you in return. So it's always what is going to be best for them. And in doing so, they don't really have compassion for you or for anybody else because it's all about them. Then there's the whiner. So the whiners are the ones that are always blaming and they're always complaining. And this creates a very negative environment for others to even work. And it makes it hard for production in this type of environment to even happen because there's always a blame game going on. And at some point, there might even be some stories that they invent just to cover the blaming of others in their situations. So everyone is different, and really there's no exact way to handle every situation. And I think all of these characteristics, or some of these, could apply to more than one person. And more than one person could have multiple characteristics. So let's talk for a second about some strategies that we can use, or that you can use, to better work with these individuals. And again, keep in mind that there are more strategies to use. There's multiple ways. These are just a few that are ones that really would work for all situations. The first is to be calm. So keep in mind that once you start getting agitated, you're also agitating that other person. And so you start to feed off each other. And so if you go into a situation calm, or if you have to step out and take a walk down the hall, or count to 10, or take a deep breath, whatever, to be calm, to make sure that whatever agitation you have in your system is gone, so that that environment is a positive one and you can interact with them a little easier. Understand their intentions. So a lot of times individuals are doing things that we don't really know why they're intending to do this. And that is something that we need to consider. What is their root cause for acting that way? What is creating them in the environment that they're either acting or reacting to? And are you meeting their needs? Are there things that they're intending to do that haven't been met by you as their supervisor or by coworkers, so that they might be able to cooperate a little better? And then get some perspective. So you all are in a team as supervisors, group managers, whatever, as a leadership team. You have a great way to interact with each other and to bounce ideas off of. And sometimes that's all it takes. If you have employees that have worked in various areas, go reach out to where they came from and find out what worked, or some things that triggered them for acting the way they do. Use your resources. And that advice might be able to better help you handle the situation that you're dealing with. And then build rapport. So this is an important one. The next two, I think, can really do apply for any situation. Employees really need to know that you have their back. They need to know that you have built this relationship, that if they have a situation come up, you're going to be able to work with them. You're going to be able to make sure that their needs are being met on a work level, and maybe possibly delve into that personal level if it needs to happen. But get to know what they like to do. Get to know who they are, so that you can deal with them in a different way. And then finally, respect. So again, as rapport, respect can go a long way with employees. And if there's anything else that you take from today, that the respect that you give your employees will be returned the same. As we build that respect and that rapport, they want to know that they're valued, and that you value what they have to offer, that they're competent in the things that they do. And because of that, they're going to do everything they can to create that environment that's positive and worthwhile. So let's check back briefly with these 5 employees that we talked about earlier. So Jack came in one day and he was again telling his stories, and the employees were getting frustrated, and his supervisor pulled him aside, and he found out that Jack and his wife are dealing with a situation with their son in school, and it's been challenging, and him coming in and just telling stories is his way to vent and just to create to let that emotion go. And you challenged him to maybe limit the time they tell stories, and he took that in a positive way because you took some time to get to know and understand his situation. And then Susie. So she has a good friend at work. They work well together, and this friend has been able to really help her understand what's going on around her and to help her get back into the present situation. And in doing so, their production, their working together has increased, and it's been a positive experience for all of them. And Bob, so his coworkers started to trust him. They started to ask questions about what happened to him 10 years ago, and because of that, he's been able to let some of that emotion and that anger go, and the trust that he's developed with his coworkers and his team has enabled him to be a better employee. Jane never really understood what her job was, never understood what she physically was expected to do. And so as another team lead took her aside and talked to her, they developed a good relationship, and the team lead started to mentor with her and help her recognize what was expected. And in doing so, again, her production has increased, and the environment around this team has been more positive. And then Zach. So finally, as he and his team got to talking and they developed some really good personal relationships with each other, they learned that he was abandoned as a child, and because of that, he never learned to be accountable for things. He was just tossed to and from, and that knowing that with his team, they were able to build some good support system for him, and for them to know that for him to know that it wasn't okay to do some of the things that he was doing, and he learned some accountability for his actions. And it's been, again, with all the other situations, been a positive experience. So you will never get away from situations where you have difficult people. They're around us all the time. And as you start to stay calm and you understand what their intentions are, you get some perspective from others, build rapport, build that respect with the employees and other teams. Those employees will look at the situation a little better. They'll maybe relax, and that positive environment that you're wanting to deal with them will increase. Thank you.